Welcome to Postcard and a Pint. Today we're taking you on our pick of 10 great cruise ports in the Mediterranean. With amazing beaches, ancient ruins and vibrant ports, the Mediterranean offers something for every traveller. So from east to west, let's set sail. First stop is Palma, on the beautiful island of Mallorca. It's about a 10-minute walk to the port entrance, and then it's definitely a bus or a taxi to get to the old town, as it's 6 kilometres away. Once you arrive though, you're in for a treat. We popped into the old city exchange, which is now a cultural centre. Then walked through the old town in search of the Cathedral of Santa Maria of Palma. To book our tickets, we scanned the QR codes outside and avoided the queues. Construction of this cathedral began in 1229 and continued into the 17th century. The famous Spanish architect Gaudí was in charge of the refurbishment of this cathedral for a while, and you could really see his influences. Our ticket had cost us £12, and this allowed us access to the cathedral roof. From up here, you get incredible views across the city and all the way back to your ship. We highly recommend a visit here. It's one of the most beautiful cathedrals we've ever seen. For the rest of our time in port, we wandered the old town, seeing where our feet took us. We stumbled across Plaza Major, a huge square that hosts markets and festivals. We also stumbled across a few more churches. And we stumbled across a fair bit of tapas, lager and sangria. And after that, we then stumbled into a taxi and went back to our ship. We highly recommend Palma, Mallorca as a port stop. Bonjour et bienvenue en France. We're in Marseille in the south of France. Just a word of advice here. To catch the bus into the city, it's a kilometre walk to the bus stop at the port entrance. The bus is free, but it's very crowded and not the most pleasant experience. Pick up a free city map as you get off the bus, then explore to your heart's content. If you turn right from the bus stop, one of the first sights you'll come across is Marseille Cathedral. This is a newer cathedral dating from 1852, but well worth a visit. There are museums to see near the cathedral, but we really enjoyed walking to the old port. Up on the hill overlooking the port is the Notre Dame de la Garda Basilica. We didn't visit this time, but it's definitely on our list for our next trip to Marseille. We found Marseille really vibrant and pretty, especially the old port area. Considering Marseille was the port we were least looking forward to on this cruise, it turned out to be one of our favourites. Do pick up some of the region's famous lavender from the markets. Pop your head into any number of old churches. And if you don't fancy that crammed bus and a kilometre walk back, grab a taxi. It was a much nicer way to travel, and it dropped you right back at your ship. Bon voyage! We're now on Italian soil and in Olbia, on the stunning island of Sardinia. Your cruise might put on a bus for you, but if you want to walk, it's about 20 minutes to the bottom of Corso Umberto, the main street. There's usually a market on here, geared towards tourists. And as you walk up Corso Umberto, do check out the Church of San Paolo with its ornately coloured dome. Piazza Regina Margherita sits at the top of Corso Umberto and is a great place to grab a drink. As you walk back down Corso Umberto, do stop for an ice cream at one of the many gelaterie. Back on the waterfront, you'll find the Archaeological Museum of Olbia. This museum is free to enter and houses relics from ancient civilizations that thrived in Sardinia. Right outside the museum is the Ferris wheel. This gives you great views over the town and the sea. Olbia's oldest and most famous church is San Simplicio. It was built in the late 11th century and is well worth a visit. The word Sardinia probably conjures up pictures of stunning beaches with white sand and turquoise waters. Your cruise ship will probably put on an excursion to one, but for a fraction of the price, you can do it yourself. Catch the number 4 bus towards Bardos, and in 20 minutes you have a number of beaches to choose from. Our favourite is the 4th one, Maria Roche. Beautiful water, great beer, and the best beach bar going. They're a friendly bunch there. Then catch the bus back to Olbia and go back to your ship with a Sardinian suntan in tow. Olbia, in Greek it means happy. It's certainly a happy place for us. Buongiorno! We're in Civitavecchia, the cruise port for Rome. The town is an easy 20-minute walk from the port and is a lovely Italian coastal town if you're not planning on visiting Rome. There's quite a large street market, the famous statue embracing peace. There's also a small beach, so you can cool off on those hot Italian days. You won't be short of bars and restaurants in Civitavecchia. The architecture is beautiful, and there are plenty of monuments and churches to visit. But if the romance of Rome is calling you, head to the train station. We advise getting your ticket online to avoid the queues at the machines. We used the train line. Then, in around 50 minutes, you'll be in the Eternal City. Rome has a pretty good metro system. We wanted to see the Trevi Fountains and the Pantheon, so headed underground. Rome gets very hot in the summer, so do stop for plenty of drink breaks. Some areas are very touristy, but when you've sights like this, there's little wonder. From the Trevi Fountains, it was about a 20-minute walk to the Pantheon, the oldest building in the world still in use today. Do scan the QR code to book a ticket. You'll save yourself a lot of time queuing. This building is mind-blowing, and if you do nothing else in Rome, do come here. As the Earth moves around the sun, different sections of the interior are illuminated. And when you're all done in Rome, get lost in the old streets and grab a bite to eat. Then it's back to Roma Termini and onto your train back to Civitavecchia. It can be an exhausting day, but it's so worth it. We've docked in Corfu, an island in the Ionian Sea. It's straightforward to either catch a bus or a taxi, or you can walk. If you walk along the coast, it takes you about half an hour to arrive at the old town, and there's plenty to see along the way. There is a lot to see and do in Corfu town. You can visit the new fortress, wander the old town admiring the architecture, visit the Museum of Asian Art, or do as we did and visit the old fortress. It was built in the early 15th century by the Venetians and has protected Corfu in many battles. It's incredibly picturesque, and as well as its history, it gives you some stunning views. One of our favourite areas was just below this fortress, a secluded marina called Valoraki. Here you could swim, grab a drink and a meal, and just watch the world go by. There's so much to see in Corfu town, and if you don't fancy that walk back, for €1.50 you can catch the bus back to your ship and reflect on your fabulous day in Corfu. The port of Katakolon is on the Peloponnese in Greece. It's a port that you'll find on many itineraries for Eastern Mediterranean cruises, but there isn't a great deal in Katakolon itself. There are basically two streets, one along the waterfront, full of restaurants and bars, perfect for a snack and a view of your ship. And then behind that, another street full of touristy-style shops that are, in our opinion, quite expensive. So what to do when in Katakolon? Some people stay on board, but most people use this port to discover ancient Olbia, just 25 miles away. We booked our tour through the cruise line and really enjoyed this excursion, although we would have liked more free time on site. To visit the birthplace of the Olympic Games is incredible. You'll see where the Olympic flame begins its relay to this very day. You'll visit the stadium where athletes raced for glory millennia ago. And like many other tourists, you'll probably film your own Olympic moment. As well as the outdoor site, there is also a fascinating museum to explore, where some of the world's most important ancient works of art are on display, dating back thousands of years. And when you're all done, it's back to your ship, ready to set sail for your next adventure. Our next port of call is Souda for Hania on the Greek island of Crete. It's a bus ride to get into Hania, but the bus stop is directly opposite the ship, and for only €3 return, it's a bargain. It's about a 20-minute ride, and the bus drops you off outside the soon-to-be Newmarket Hall. We wanted to see the famous lighthouse and the old Venetian port. On our short walk down to the water, we visited the Church of St. Nicholas, which was beautiful. It's a short but very pretty walk down to the port of Hania. These ship sheds are very iconic and date to the 1500s. We saved the bars and restaurants until after we tackled the long harbour wall. As you walk the wall, you are rewarded with great views across to the ship sheds and glimpses of the Venetian harbour that we've yet to discover. At the end of the harbour wall, you'll find the Hania Lighthouse. It was built in 1864 and is now a listed archaeological site in Greece. And after all that walking, you'll be ready for a cold, refreshing local beer. Just a short walk around the headland brings you to the old Venetian port. This is picture postcard perfect, and why not enjoy some traditional tzatziki while you soak up the atmosphere and gaze across the port. There is an old fortress that you can visit, and also the Maritime Museum of Crete. A lot of people take pony and carriage rides and see Hania that way. We just enjoyed wandering the old town, stopping for a cheeky ice cream, and then meandering back to the bus, taking in the Catholic Church of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Then it's back to the industrial port of Souda and your ship. Job well done. There is nothing nicer than the sail-in to Santorini. Watching the sun slowly rise above Fira is magical. Santorini is a tender port, meaning you'll use smaller boats to make your way from your cruise ship to the island. If you're taking a tour, you'll meet your bus at the ferry port, but if you're just going ashore yourself, you'll be dropped at the old harbour, where you can catch a cable car or walk the 600 steps up to Fira. We took a morning tour to Ia, the beautiful whitewashed town with Insta-famous blue-domed churches. It can get unbearably busy in the height of the season, but as ours was one of the first buses there, it wasn't too bad. Our tour included time in Ia, then a visit to the highest point of the island, which gave us incredible views. We were then dropped back in Fira for a couple of hours before we had to make our way down to the old harbour. There are a lot of gorgeous bars and restaurants in Fira. We had a well-deserved Greek salad, pizza, and of course a beer. Then we carried on exploring the maze of narrow winding streets. The Orthodox Metropolitan Cathedral is well worth a visit, as is the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. Before you know it, it will be time to head to the cable car and make your way down to the tender boats. Although Santorini can get busy, it is a beautiful port stop on your cruise, and what better way to end the day than with a sunset from your ship. In Mykonos, you could dock at the new port, or like Santorini, you could also tender. If you're at the new port, you can walk into town. It takes about 40 minutes, but we don't recommend this as there is no path. But right next to the cruise ship dock is the sea bus terminal, where for €2 each way you can catch a boat downtown and back again. Your cruise ship may also offer a bus service, but you will pay significantly more for this. Once you arrive into Mykonos town, you'll find yourself in a maze of stunning blue and white streets. Do check out Mykonos Harbour, with its colourful boats and plentiful restaurants and bars. Mykonos town boasts of over 60 churches, and we're sure that each and every one is a joy to visit. But just behind the port is this one, Paraportiani, which is probably the most famous and definitely the most photographed, and well worth a visit. Another popular area of Mykonos town is Little Venice. Here you can look across to the famous windmills, grab a cocktail and watch the most spectacular sunsets. Well, if your ship's in port late enough. Take a stroll up to the iconic windmills. Once used for crushing grain, they now stand as timeless guardians of the island's heart. Mykonos is the island for you if you like to shop. From souvenirs to many famous designer brands, you'll be spoiled for choice, and your wallet will certainly be lighter when you leave. Do cool off with a refreshing swim at the town beach after all that shopping. The water is lovely and you get a great view of the ships too. Then head back to the harbour, grab a refreshing drink before you catch the sea bus back to your ship. Mykonos, your picture postcard perfect. Well, almost. Our last stop is in Rhodes town, and the beauty of this stop is that the entrance to the old walled city is directly opposite the cruise ship dock, literally a 5-minute walk away. There are many incredible historical sites to see in Rhodes town. Our top tip, though, is to get up early and get to the Street of the Knights before the crowds. This street is recognised as one of the most intact medieval streets in the world and was once home to the Knights of St John. At the top of the street, you'll find the Palace of the Grand Masters. This is well worth a visit and has some incredible old mosaics that are simply amazing. The town is very walkable, and nearby you'll find the Rolloy Clock Tower. For a small fee, you can climb this and have great views across Rhodes town and across to your cruise ship. If you like shopping, then Rhodes town is for you. The prices are excellent, so grab yourself a bargain or a Christmas decoration if your wills. With all that sightseeing and shopping and the odd cheeky drink, your time will be filled. But if you do get a chance, walk around the old city wall to Mandraki Harbour. This is where the huge statue, the Colossus of Rhodes, is said to have once stood, with a foot on each side of the harbour entrance. After all that history, you'll be ready to get back to your ship and enjoy a gorgeous sunset. Night-night! Thank you for joining us on this journey through 10 great cruise destinations in the Mediterranean. We hope this video has inspired your next adventure and given you a taste of what the Med has to offer. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on any more travel tips and destination guides. Let us know your favourite spots in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy cruising.
Last time I went on holiday, I went to an Irish bar called The Fiddle, but I didn't like it.
Didn't you?
No, it was a violin.
Oh.